There we go. So, hello everyone. Welcome to what I think is now the... Oh, actually, let me check. Let's see what number this is. So, last time I said I think it was the 13th or the 12th. But it turns out I actually had a stream that I didn't realise I had done, that had yet to be uploaded. So, let's have a look. Bear with me. Why is nothing easy to find on here? Cube Studio, here we go. So episode 9 is currently up on the YouTube channel, but there are 3 more live streams since then that are kind of in the backlog to go up this week, which will be up by... We've got one going up on Wednesday, one going up on Thursday, and one going up on Saturday. Those will be uploaded and up by the end of the week, and then the week after, this one will go up. So that will be on... Let's check the dates. I believe that will be on Monday the 17th of February. So this will go up a week after it's been recorded. Just because of the way that we're staggering videos so we can get them edited and everything. Hopefully that gap will get a little bit shorter over time, but not by a lot. We want to kind of give ourselves a bit of a buffer to work with there. But yeah, with that being said, that means that this is the 13th live stream, I think. So I got the number wrong on the last one or the one before, I can't remember which. But yeah, so today we're going to be doing something a little bit different than what I had actually had planned. So originally I was going to work, so on the camera board over here, I was going to work on the enabling the physics interactions and getting the physics controller working for the props. But instead what I'm going to do is I'm going to work on prop editor inputs. So basically just enabling the keyboard and mouse to interact with the and the prop system, so tying those two things together, which shouldn't be too difficult because we've already done that with our voxel editor, and also getting this thing which I've called editor prop placement vector. Now what that means is I'll explain on the board. We have, say, our voxels in space. And let's say we've got the camera somewhere. We want to work out where exactly the camera collides with in terms of voxels. So in this case it's very close, but it'd be around there. And then we'd want to... So it'd probably be this voxel here, or this one, depending on where the line actually ends up. And then we'd want to place the prop that we currently have selected on that. Which is why we need that vector function to be a thing. So what we'll be doing is taking a look at how to do that and the maths behind it, and seeing if we can get it to work. It might be a bit difficult to get it to interact with the voxel system, so I think I'll need to add a few functions into the voxel engine, but that'll be stuff that I'll do as we go through today. Now, unfortunately, I can't spend too much time today working on all of this stuff just because I've got somewhere to be after this. But hopefully, I'll be able to spend enough time on it to actually make some significant progress. And if we get time, obviously, we'll look at the physics thing again and see what work we can do there. So obviously, the first kind of step in this is opening up the prop controller. So this will open up all of my scripts anyway. So last time we were looking at setting up the basically the material system for getting the props loaded in, and also getting them all loaded correctly, and also despawned if we want to despawn them. So now what we're doing is we're tying in these things into the editor itself. I'm just doing some thinking quickly about basically where to start with this. So let me see. I guess the best thing to do would simply be to open up the editor camera and see if we can really kind of get it to have some kind of awareness of the system itself. So what I'll probably end up doing is making the thing that I've already built, so this prop controller, actually making it part of the editor camera class so that it has some kind of awareness of it and we can communicate between the two, is what I've done here. So the terrain controller is actually a part of this function, so in the editor, sorry, this class, so in the editor, I'm not sure if it actually has its own thing or if it's just aware of it. So by the looks of it, this is an object in the editor itself, and now I just need to find out how it is that we've actually referenced this inside of here. So I presume it's something like a prop controller, I would have thought. Let's see if I've included it in here. Okay. Nice of this caught up, there we go. See that now this is a thing here, now that we have a pointer in here. So a prop controller, let's call this, we'll call that one voxels, so we'll just call this one props. Simple enough. So now we need to find out where I've actually referenced this. Probably in the start, in begin play or something like that. I doubt it's just automatically aware of it, that would be unusual if it was. Unless we've done something in here, maybe it's like passing back a reference to itself. I doubt it. Anyway, let's test it. So what we can do is we go to our editor camera, go into here, part of begin play, we will do props. And then it'd be nice if I could remember what I've actually called it. Let's have a look. Spawn in new prop. At position 0, 0, and then we'll do 30, prop ID 0, and physics enabled 0, doesn't matter what we put in there at the moment. We'll disable all the stuff that we've got inside of here. Just comment that out. And we'll see if this actually does anything. Oh, I know what I've done. So through the editor here, actually, thinking about it, what I've probably done is dragged it over as a property. So if I open up... Where did they? I've exposed voxels here and then selected it, so I need to do the same with the other variables. So if I go back into see if I can find out how I've exposed. Basically just this, so copy this. So what uProperty does is it makes it something that the editor can access, basically. So we need to do the same. Compile that quickly. Give it some time to do all the changes that I've just made. So now, if we click in here, click off of it in fact, see if it's showing up now. Here we go. Prop controller 1. Shouldn't have had to recompile there, but we'll give it a go anyway, see what happens. So if we run this... Right, yeah, so our temporary prop is spawning in properly, the voxel engine hasn't broken, so we know that there is interaction between the editor camera now and the prop system, which is great. So what we can start looking at doing now is updating our input system to include inputs for props. So I will go into the editor itself, if I can remember how to do this. I believe it's in project settings, I'll have to have a look. Basically looking at changing the input system right now. Let's have a look here. This it? I don't believe so. If I open the right one, it definitely was that one, wasn't it? Where is it now? I've done this so many times before and I've just completely forgotten. If I can find it. Action mappings, here we go. I don't remember how I've done all of this stuff basically. In some, excuse me, sometime since I did this, been a few months, so I have to refamiliarize myself with everything. What I'll have to do is introduce a new button shortcut. So we'll call this it's a bit long-winded, but it's descriptive. So that says toggle between voxels and props right there. So if we come up with a key for that, let's think. What don't we already have bound? It would be nice to see all of the buttons without. Unfortunately, I have to expand all of these to remember all the key mappings. Right. So DVRF all taken. I think B is, so we'll bind it to B. Just gone straight past it, so I'm going to do it. There we go. Okay, that should be fine. So these are new toggle thing. That's great. So now we need to add it to here. Basically, we need to bind it to a function. Call that toggle prop mode. And then make a definition for that. What did I call it? Toggle between voxels and props. When it's pressed, and then what did I literally just call it? That was toggle prop mode. Now that action is bound, so that will call this function whenever that occurs. So today I'm not drinking my coffee, as again I'm drinking a mint tea today. I'm going to need another variable, I think, basically to keep track of the fact that we're in a different mode now. So we'll start off with that being false. Basically all this is doing, if the button is pressed, we're just inverting it, so toggling between the two. So it equals the inverse of what it previously was. Fairly simple line of code, it's actually quite efficient doing it this way. And it requires one read and one write. Through there, you can see that we've done something similar down here. So now we need to reevaluate all of our functions, see if they still kind of make sense in terms of their names, and then wrap them in conditions that disable certain types of behaviors. This thing called determine placement action. So this is the left and right mouse button thing that we're actually using. I want to see if we're still using these anywhere at all, and then I can remove them. I've just noticed that we might not be. Always press Control B. Don't even know what it does. Yes, these were made redundant, so what I'll do is I'll get rid of those. So basically saying if the prop mode is active, or rather if not prop mode is active, so it will go in the bottom half of this. Then we do the things as normal, place voxels and all that. If not, then we want to call something else entirely. So we want a new function called placeProp. And we'll want one called removeProp as well for that matter. Cut them. Is it just change voxels? Probably is. And the reason that is because the voxel system takes 0 as a parameter, so we actually only needed to determine whether or not there was a number in there. If there wasn't, we set it as 0. And it's the same function call, essentially using the same shapes, so we could bind that into one function. But what I'm going to do is break this out into two separate, one called add and one called remove. Although I guess I could do the same thing. I guess I could embed that kind of function call, so adding a prop 0 for instance would be removing 1 at that position. I don't really know if it's worth doing it that way. I don't think it really makes too much sense, because it's like, I could justify it before because air was technically a material, I suppose, whereas in this case it isn't really. So I'll just call something called spawn prop. That will need to take no variables, and one called delete prop. Simple as that. Then back in here, yeah, there's a reason we can't call it directly, so we don't actually know what material is currently selected, but we'll work it out and then combine the two. Basically copying this state thing here. Create a definition for these. So yeah, it's that simple. And then we need to flesh out the systems that we have down here in a similar way to how we've done it with our voxel system. So I'll just take a quick look through here, just see if there's anything I can. I was just setting the brush diameter. We don't need any of that stuff anymore because the props that we're spawning have a fixed size. It's not something that we change using the editor. But I guess technically we could use a similar brush system to spawn multiple props. But I won't worry about it for now. That can be a feature that I add later on if it's something that we end up needing. We have this thing called material, so we know what material it is. I don't believe we've actually I believe this is just hard coded at the moment, this material variable, something that we will need to update at some point, but I will do the same here for now, since we don't have an updated material system just yet, because there's no AI input for that, or UI input for that. Double check. And here I'd expect a material option We've got current material slot and current material level, but I don't believe I actually update those anywhere. No, you see, I don't actually do that. So, yeah, I'm going to just put a temporary variable in here into spawn prop. Call it prop ID, and then we'll just say equal to 1. Now this is where I need to start thinking about the directional code for the X, Y, Z. So I can't have done that previously. Okay, yeah, kind of understand what's going on here. So we want the we want an F vector. In here. Now this will just spawn it at a fixed distance in front of the camera, which isn't what I want long term, but it's something that will do as a temporary kind of measure. Eventually I want it so that when spawning in props they spawn in front of the camera, which is what I meant by, let me just toggle it on quickly. That's what I meant by this section here. So it will scan in front of the camera until it finds a solid voxel to place the item on. And that is what we will implement soon, but right now I just want to make sure that this is actually working. And that just means using old code for a little bit. Just recycling that. And then delete prop is basically the same thing. Only with this it is slightly different. So we'll need a new function inside of prop controller. So basically we want to find the, as the function says, we want to find a prop based on its location in the world. This will actually already need to return an int, so we will just rename that. And we will return variable. The default is to return -1. We want a for loop, multi-dimensional for loop actually. Sorry, my brain isn't working. There we go. For int x, and then world size, I think is a thing here. World width. There we go. I'm basically doing the same for the XYZ. I actually also want a multi-dimensional array to store references to all of the model IDs that I have. Essentially what I'm doing here is I'm going to have an array inside of our prop system that will store what item is at each location. So in the spawning code and the deleting code, I will need to make updates to this so that it knows what's there and what isn't. In fact, we don't even need this, so what I'll do, I don't know why I've done it this way. Basically what we're doing is this actually needs to take in an input. So, fairly standard XYZ as I have done before. Same in here. And then we basically just need to go what's it called? So I could simply just return this if I really wanted to, but we need to add some additional checks in there just to make sure that it is safe to do so. Unless we do that in the editor camera, actually. Let me just have a look at how I've implemented it into here. Yeah, so no actual checks take place inside of the other thing that I've done, so I will do it inside of this as well. I'm also going to see how the terrain controller handles placement in such instances. Should be inside of... I believe it's in change voxel. That's essentially what we want. There we go. So if it's within world bounds, yeah, just do that. It's relatively simple. So where am I at now? So close that off. This should be fine. And now we need to update spawn in new prop and delete prop. So this will need to be updated once we actually have different size values for different things, but we'll have probably a function that will return. Sorry, not different size values. So each prop will take up a different amount of voxels in terms of not necessarily its width and height, because it can be different shapes, but in terms of just physical location, it might take up a few things in like a cross pattern, for example, or like a tree might have a triangle shape. Those will all be kept in some kind of either code library or file library. Now, temporarily, we're just assuming that these things only take up one space, which is what I've done here, but eventually we'll need to read from said library to fill in each individual position and make sure that it's valid. Also, we need to obviously check against we also need to check whether or not something is existing within that space. So that's something I should do actually as well. There we go. Okay, just checking something on my phone. Right, so basically, if there's something in the position that we've checked, so is it greater than -1, then we'll allow it to be spawned in. Then once we have spawned it in, we'll assign it the prop ID that we've passed in, which in this case will be 0. And then in the deleting one, we need to find out what its XYZ actually is. Oh, so something obviously that we can include in here is XYZ. There we go. And then set those here. And then we basically just want to do a native one, there's nothing in there, and then for XYZ we want to set it to these basically. Oh, not copied the whole thing. That would help. Setting that space to native one. Double check everything is in order. think so. So for delete prop, we'll do props dot find prop from voxel location, and then we need to give it XYZ. So that'll be the same as this. So this will actually stay in the final game, because obviously if someone is editing the terrain, we want to be able to have people to delete props that could be potentially floating in the air. So we don't want them to have to only be able to remove things from surfaces. So in front of the camera is fine, and having that variable length is helpful as well. And then we're basically doing the same thing here, but we don't need the additional variables this time. And then we are wrapping this in props dot delete prop. There we go. So we've not implemented any of the material switching stuff just yet, but this on its own should be okay. I think I've done everything that I need to do so far to get this tested at a basic level. So we've got the toggle between prop and voxel mode. I believe that should work correctly based on, I believe it's the B key. So since that is working, we think it's working, let's give it a go. So voxel should be placeable. And then, okay, that actually did work, surprisingly. And if it's deleting them though, definitely placing them though, which is good. But it only does it sometimes, which is weird. Only removes the last one that's been placed as well. How strange. See what it might be. I might have spawned so many in that I've hit my limit already. So to deal with that, I will wrap it in this code as I did before. In fact, I will wrap this around this. Instead, and then we can remove it from here. So now we have the timer wrapped around this part of the code instead, which also encapsulates deleting and spawning. See that in action. Hopefully it doesn't mess with things too much. Maybe deleting shouldn't work under the same principle, but I mean you get the idea. Seems to work fine. Then we'll swap. Also seems to be fine. Only seems to delete the last one though. Deleting obviously needs some work. somewhere along the line I've messed up basically. Also it gets to a hard limit and then you can no longer spawn any more in, but I'm not sure if that's because I'm trying to delete them. Restart. Seems to get to a limit and then stop. How strange. Oh, of course, I think I know what it is. We don't need to be saving the material, we need to be saving the ID to the prop reference IDs variable. There we go. So it's not saving the first one, it's saving the last one. Yeah, so that all seems to be working correctly as I would have expected it to. Maybe a bit buggy. Not always deleting all of the panels. Eventually it's overlapping, so I can fix that. And let's investigate it a bit further. It would be helpful if I could actually see where I was placing stuff. Let's move it closer. Hello, you know what? It only works sometimes, which is weird. That really was not in the right place at all. Hello? Might seem to be removing them properly, but I'm not sure if that is because of where I've got them. Strange. I mean, it kind of works as expected. Other than the deleting problem. What might be better actually is if I pull the bit of code that finds the ID. That should be fine. I'm looking at the wrong thing. Right, so if we go down to... where is it? Here we go, delete prop. I don't know why this would cause any bugs, but it's the only thing that I can think of that might be the problem. In fact, we don't even need... it's more than -1. i.e. it exists. Give this a go, just in case for some reason it has an issue with -1 or something like that. So maybe when it's trying to complete that bit of code, it's unless my placement vector's off, that could be it. Did look slightly wonky, and I'm not entirely sure why. Might be something to do with the way the view's calculated or something. Didn't work, apart from on that one. Maybe I'm just not touching them properly. Again, apart from on that one. If have been written correctly. All of these just don't seem to have worked. What makes them different is what I need to work out. Let me get rid of the timer on the delete part. Instead, put it when spawning stuff in. Might just be that the polling rate isn't quite accurate enough for me. If this doesn't remove the source of the bug, I know it's nothing to do with time and it's the way I'm maybe storing the IDs or something like that. So some of them are saving and some of them aren't, and they're referencing correctly. Oh, that did something. Maybe there's just so many in one position. Okay, now it won't let me place in that location. That's interesting. Obviously something isn't excuse me, something isn't getting set or removed properly. Just double check that. I'm saying it's XYZ. Saying it's prop reference ID. This isn't updating correctly. The space is active, then it has to have had a XYZ set. I know this works alright. Setting the space to false. And setting the prop reference ID at position X, Y, Z. -1, yeah, that should be fine. And then this bit of code wait, hang on, let me double check something. Where would it be? In here? No, sorry, it is in prop controller. These are whole voxel numbers, aren't they? And these are ints, so it shouldn't be anything weird. Let me simplify the process a little bit. Since we don't actually need hang on. Really, for the life of me, can't work out why this would be a problem. Unless we're spawning in lots of things at once. Yeah, because deleting blocks like that still works. Oh, and that worked as well, apparently. It makes some blocks inactive for some reason, so maybe some things are being set incorrectly. That was weird. I was getting rid of stuff in completely the wrong space. Something definitely isn't being updated correctly. I think maybe something's happening too fast, or a proper check isn't being done correctly. Then again, it should only do this if the space is active. It should never overwrite stuff if it isn't. And then obviously we set the activeness of each space to true or false depending on what's going on there. Maybe it's the order in which they're placed. And not actually because of the position. So what I mean by that is, let's say I go into this mode and I place loads of stuff down, and then I go to here. That one isn't accessible. But it deleted something at the start, which it shouldn't have done. know why some stuff's getting stuck. Unless maybe I'm just not looking at it correctly. Why is some stuff just not getting removed? Really weird bug. Could literally be anything. I'm trying to identify a pattern, but I really can't, which is very confusing. Maybe it is just the way I'm looking, maybe it just has to be very precise. Let's see something very linear. And then going back the other way. Just like, no, this space just ain't gonna work. Okay. Cultural system's fine. I think. Unless single block selection is really inaccurate. You know what, maybe that's what it is. Broken something? Maybe where I'm selecting isn't quite where I think it is. Let's try it in thingy mode. Try it in game mode, see if that makes a difference. This might take some time, so we'll see. This is taking forever, come on. Might actually just be a matter of accuracy on the paintbrush. It might not be then not deleted. Hopefully we'll be able to see what it is. Fill in loads of them. Might be a bit easier to see. It's almost very random which ones it's picking at any given time. Gonna go. Go back and forth a bit, please. Yeah, maybe not. Trying to think what would affect it. I mean, obviously I can run through the debugger at some point. See if I can work out what on earth it is that is causing the issue. Right, so I'm going to see if I can work on this stuff I think off camera, because tomorrow, if I have a look, I've got a bit of space to work on various things. So I'm just looking at my schedule up here, but do you have some time to work on all of this code? So all of the issues that I've had, all of the things that I've had issues with so far, I will try and work on off stream. If I don't get a chance to do that, obviously I'll try and do that on stream if I have to, but I don't want to bore you guys with stuff like this, especially if no one's really interacting in chat, and since I've not had any viewers at the moment, can be a bit of a drag. So rather than kind of put that into the video content, I'm just going to cut it there. I mean, we've had quite a long live stream today. It's been an hour and 30, including the intro section. So that's quite good. But yeah, I mean, we've got editor prop input, so I'm going to swap back over to board cam again. So we've done that. There we go. So that's another thing we can tick off our list. So we're kind of 3 down at the moment and 3 to go. They're the slightly more involved things that I don't actually have solutions for just yet, but hopefully by the time either I come back on the live stream, either I'll have fixed some of these or I'll have gotten a bit closer to getting them to where they need to be. So as always, thanks for watching, and I will see you live on, what day are we today? On Monday. Next one will be recorded tomorrow, so if you're going to watch live, I'll see you tomorrow. If you're watching this on YouTube, this will be Ooh, I believe next Wednesday, but I might be wrong. So we'll see. Or actually Monday, I think it is. So, yeah, thanks for watching, guys, and have a nice week.